All right, so I'm trying out this without my headphones. Hopefully, this should be working much better because I did listen to the previous live, and I think when I took out the earbuds, the audio was much better. I mean, I'm gonna wait a couple minutes. Hopefully, we'll get some people to join. The last couple of lives, there was over 100 people in each session. So let me see. I'm gonna get my keyboard set up as well so I can actually read the comments. Let me just get set up here. Just want to make sure. Okay, sorry. Oh, there's a massive fly. Okay, somebody's here. Hi. Yeah, I'm just getting set up. I just give me a moment. Somehow a fly has infiltrated the room again. Is the audio better this time? I think first a savage commentary. So, welcome guys. Hopefully more people will join as the live goes on. So I'm going to discuss what's happening in the UK regarding their protest on immigration. I'm sure all of you guys have seen on the news. It's very unfortunate. I believe how many so there was 11 stabbings, I believe. 11 people got stabbed in the course of just 3 days, and there was three girls that got murdered during the it was a yoga session, I believe, right? And so the perpetrator, he was a minor. I believe he just turned 18, and it's caused all of this chaos. So I'm gonna keep this rolling. Sounds good. Yeah, these people watching. I was watching your newest video. Yeah, so this one is related to the obviously the newest video as well. I have to work tomorrow night and also Sunday night. That's why I decided to go live right now, and because I just don't think I'll have enough time. I already give my 2 weeks notice at work. Well, not really 2 weeks, because they said I have to stay a little bit longer because someone also recently quit. So in about 4 weeks time, I'm gonna be completely done with my job, and I can focus more. I want to finish up school, and I want to just really focus on building the contents for the channel for the rest of the year. I did mention before I want to cover socialism and communism, so I will have an entire series that's on the Soviet Union that's gonna run for the year round. So what's the time there? Oh, someone's coming from Korea, South Korea, 8 a.m. in Seoul. So right now it's 7 p.m. in Eastern Standard Time in Canada. I'm on the East Coast. Tyrannical, why didn't you tell us you're almost homeless? Well, the thing is, I was doing fine before I returned to school. I didn't, obviously, it's not due to rampant spending. Like, I don't smoke, drink, or gamble. So I was doing fine until I returned to college in 2018. And in 2018, before I went back to college, I actually had a saving of over $8,000. Then, obviously, after I graduated from college, I went to Georgian College in 2020. I decided to go to university to follow up. So it's been 6 years, and obviously 6 years of a post-secondary education, it costs so much money. That's why I ended up drowning in debt. And I don't know how long it's going to be, because I do have to return to Canada shortly after I return to China. So it could be I might have to sleep in my car for anywhere between 6 months to 1 year. I'll have to see, because rent has gotten so expensive. I'm just at a point I'm on. I can't afford to pay any more interest, because the main issue with especially right now, I have credit cards and line of credit. The issue is that the credit card, the interest rate is 20%. Like it's literally, that's what's gonna kill you. Right now, my interest payment on my credit card and my line of credit combined, it's I think it's roughly $600, or like $450 US. So that's the part that's really killing me, because I'm making like those payments, but the debt's not going down. So I need to get to the point where I actually have to get the debt going down. Because once I get rid of the credit card and line of credit, I think it's not so terrible. It's just right now I'm at a very bad place, and it's not for a stunt or anything. I'm really at that point. but it's temporary, and I'll get out of it. At least I'm not completely homeless. I'll have a car to sleep in. It's not going to be all terrible, and it's going to be split up. I'm not going to sleep in my car for a year altogether. It could be split up over the course of the next 3 years, because obviously I'm going back to spend some time with my family, and I'm just gonna. Okay, it's good. We have a lot of people that's joining. So there's 67 people now. So I'm gonna read. Well, before I read through some of the comments, I do want to cover. So the main goal of this live stream, since I'm following up with this video, I really want to talk about the issue of immigration. And wait a second. So let me see. So the issue in Canada is getting really bad. I keep bringing up the topic, right? And I think I'm gonna bring up all the key points throughout this live stream, so you guys can have a really good understanding of what's really happening, how dire the situation is. For example, right now I'm really concerned about just getting sick in Ottawa. So I live in the capital. See, in Ottawa, there's over 1 million people, and if you combine the Quebec region, like all the surrounding regions in the metropolitan, like Ottawa metropolitan area, there's probably 1.5 to 1.7 million people, and there are only 5 hospitals. There are 4 on the Ottawa side and 1 on the Quebec side. So think about it. So you have 1.5 million people, and there are only 5 hospitals. This is the issue with the population explosion. I believe in 2001, roughly 2001, Ottawa's population was something like 600,000. And, Justin Trudeau's government has completely flooded Canada with all this basically population explosion, and it's causing a stress. It's not just the rental market, it's not just the housing market. The healthcare system has completely collapsed. I personally know so many nurses that I met at Georgian College. They're quitting their jobs like crazy because some nurses are being mandated to work 16-hour shifts, like 16-hour shifts for real. And sometimes they're forced to work those 12-hour midnight shifts, because nurses, they always work the 12-hour shifts. It's either 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or you work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And so it takes a tremendous toll on everybody, and sometimes they're mandated to work like 72 hours a week because there's a huge shortage on nurses. The closest hospital to me is called Montfront Hospital. So right now, if you go there, the emergency department, it's a 50-50 chance they're closed down, because so many nurses are quitting, where they're just not showing up to their shifts. The healthcare system has completely collapsed because they simply cannot keep up. When you have a population increase of over 1 million people per year now, this puts a stress not on the infrastructure, on healthcare, on education, and it's going to cause all kinds of issues. I understand. I came to Canada as an immigrant, but what you need is that the immigration, it needs to be reformed, and there needs to be a system that's put in place to restrict the level of immigrants that's coming in, because this cannot be sustained. Right now, like I said, you got 1.5 million people in the city, and there's only 5 hospitals. Right now, I'm serious. If you get really, really sick, if you go to hospital, the average wait time in Ottawa is actually 9 hours. I'm not even making that up. And I think some cities probably have it worse if you live in a small, remote community. And so I'll start with that. This is why, like, I think immigration is getting so bad. And let me just read some of the comments, and I'll give you guys more details of what I've experienced, not in the past 20 years overall, just in the last 5, 6, 7 years, how bad it's gotten. So let me read some of the comments. Yes, thank you for channel member TYE Tyrannical. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the situation. Yeah, and then next, I'll bring up rent. I'll give you guys some examples of what I'm going through. YouTube earnings a lot for me to live. Well, I'm making some money, but the thing is, when I go back to China, I'll be staying with my mom, so that's a good thing. I only have to worry about food. And traveling, I'll be taking the train with my mom. It's gonna be much cheaper. And when you have to stay in hotel rooms, I'm gonna be staying in the same room as my mom, so I will be able to save a lot of money, because in China you spend the Chinese yuan. So I think one Chinese yuan is like 13.5 cents US. So things are going to be 7 times cheaper versus the West when you factor in the conversion. So it won't be so bad. And unfortunately, when I return to Canada next summer, I will continue to sleep in my car. So I think the goal is probably to sleep in my car for a total of 1 year. So it's gonna be okay. Parlez-vous en français? Speak a little bit of French, not Greek, not fluent. So let me see. Well, yeah, thank you guys for all the support. Thank you guys for watching my videos, and this channel has been monetized for over a year now. Bucharest, Romania. Yes, I just mentioned Bucharest in the video I uploaded earlier. How do you feel have a Friends poster for your daughter's adult man? I still watch Friends. It's a great show, but it's going down, obviously. Once I leave this apartment, I only have 2 weeks. how many? Yeah, 16 days until my lease is up, and I'm gonna have to vacate. Let me take me with you. Sleep on the street. No, I cannot sleep on the street. I think it's much safer to sleep in the car because the crimes are also running rampant in Canada. So yeah, I'll bring up the crime. So let's go. There's a lot of comments. Let me go through the comments. I like a company to go in China. Does anyone have recommendations? Uzbekistan. What? You look more like Filipino. Is it because I'm more tan? Don't pay off debt. It like bot. They will just arrest you. Don't pay off debt. It's bot. Like they will arrest you. No, if I don't pay off my debt, the government could take away my pension. So there's going to be some issues. I need to pay it off at some point. So it's gonna take some time. And let me read this. No, I'm not going to Amsterdam. Don't leave the USA. No, I'm definitely leaving the West. It doesn't mean I won't come back in the future. I could come back and visit in the couple months at a time. But this definitely not gonna be my permanent home in the future. And I'll tell you why. My parents are bastards. They got married before would I be ostracized? There's a lot of stuff. So let me read some of the comments. There's some Chinese comments as well. Every good man will leave the West. Housing market has made it worse. Sub from Halifax. Thank you. I thank you. It's gonna be survival of the fittest. To keep. So well, CCP levy after criticism. I'm pro Chinese Communist Party. There's a lot of these bot comments. But sorry, there's a fly in the room. Immigration moving to Japan. No, I'm not moving to Japan. Canada machete class. Okay. So let me talk about the rental issue in Canada. This is the issue I just mentioned in the video I released a few hours ago. Right now, Canada last year only built 240,000. This is all units. This is apartments, condos, townhouses, semi-detached homes, 2 stories combined. But in 1970, throughout the 1970s, that's when the construction rate in Canada peaked. So the construction rate back in the 1970s was anywhere between 260,000 to 300,000 homes. So now Canada, this is in 1970s. This is 50 years ago when Canada's population was half its current population. So the population has doubled in the past 50 years. However, the housing construction rate has gone down from anywhere between 10 to 15%. And this is where you have all the major issues. At the rate the Canada is going right now, like 1.3 million people per year, Canada will literally have to build a new home every 75 seconds. No, that is actually the real number if you put the math together. If you, let's say, roughly, you need an average of 3 people per unit. Sure, sometimes some units will only house 1 person if it's only a studio apartment. And if you have a big house of, with 4 bedrooms, that can, possibly have 5 or 6 people. But if you say on average 3 people per household, and Canada would need to build one brand new unit every 75 seconds in order to keep up. This is simply impossible, right? And I brought this up in the last video. Canada's immigration rate throughout the 1970s and 1980s was 150,000 immigrants a year. And this went up to 250,000. And it stayed at 250,000 between 1991 to 2015 until when Stephen Harper was prime minister for almost 10 years. That number did not change. He did not increase the number of immigrants. And when Justin Trudeau took power in 2015, he changed everything. It went from 250,000 to 300,000, then 350,000, then 400,000. Last year was 450,000, and this year is 500,000. And I think he's going to try to increase again if he wins another election. And the thing is, that's just the target. So last year the target was 450,000, but somehow Canada's population increased by 1.3 million. And if you actually look at some of the listings, for example, on like rentals or apartments.ca or CLV group, or sometimes the worst ones is the ones you see on Kijiji. In the GTA, the population explosion has gotten so bad. It's gotten to a point where a bunch of people are literally putting this on Kijiji. They're not hiding it. They said we're looking to share like a queen size bed, or looking to share a king size bed with 3 other people. They have 3 or 4 people sleeping on 1 mattress, and those listings are Toronto. They're going for like $1,000 a month just to share a mattress with like 3 other Indian guys. This is absolute insanity. Like, this is not the Canadian dream. I don't know what the hell those people in India are thinking. Like, if you just want to come in Canada or just end up sleeping on the street, or end up being an Uber driver or work at Tim Hortons or being a security guard, because almost all the new people that's coming in from India to Canada, almost every single one of them are making minimum wage, and they're being forced forced to work like 60 or 70 or 80 hours in Toronto just to survive, just so they can share some queen size mattress with a bunch of other Indian guys. Like this is complete insanity. There's no incentive for the immigrants to come here. They're setting them up for failure. And so sharing a mattress. No, I'm serious. You can look up some of the property listings. It hasn't got to that point in Ottawa. Ottawa's maybe 5 to 10 years behind, but eventually it's going to get to that point. I just look up the apartment I used to live in. So it was rented by a group called the CLV Group, right? I can even tell you guys the receipt. There's nothing for me to hide. Before I went back to school, I lived in a small town in Canada. It's called Stratford, Ontario. It's actually that's where I went to high school before I moved to Ottawa. So this town has roughly 32,000 people. This is a small town. Like, you think the housing market should be extremely cheap, right? When I worked at the factory there, I rented a studio apartment from 2017 to 2018. So the rent was $690 a month. $690 Canadian. That's just over $500 US. Keep in mind, I just went on their website, the CLV Group. I checked the exact same studio apartment. It's actually still up for rental at this moment. I can even say the address to make sure I'm honest, right? The address is 25 Capelli Circle, and it's a studio apartment. It's studio apartment number 503. The exact same apartment that was $690 literally 7 years ago now is $1,400. $690, 2018. $1,400 in 2024. You see, this is the issue, and so many people are experiencing this right now. So many guys that's around my age or even older, it's very normal to see a 35 or 40-year-old dude that's still living with their parents because they simply don't have an option. And so many people had dreams of going to other schools when they grew up. They wanted to go to Western University, or they wanted to go to the West Coast, right? They wanted to go to University of Toronto. They want to go to University of Waterloo. They can't simply afford to go to another city. Many of those are forced. If you're born and raised in Ottawa, either you go to University of Ottawa, you go to Algonquin College, or you go to Carleton University, one of those three schools, and you continue to live with your parents because it's gotten impossible to move out, and you have to be dependent on your parents until you're at least into your 30s for you to have any chance. And things are looking very, very grim. And grab a sip of juice. I'll tell you why I'm so against immigration now. So, for example, it's not just any immigration, okay? It's not just people coming from India. For example, people coming from China. So there are two paths, okay? For many of you guys probably haven't heard of this. It's some news. So 80% of the immigrants, I would say, that's coming from China, they're financially stable because 80% of the people coming in, they're one of the lucky ones from the boomer generation. So they probably got their house either for free or extremely cheap during China's poverty boom and during their economic miracle leading up to the Beijing Olympics. Let's say if you lived in a tier 1 city, right? You can easily sell typically on average in China, it's a 3-bedroom condo that's 100 square meters or 1,076 square feet. So if you had a condo that was that size in China, and if you sold it, and if you came to Canada, that's easily worth $1 million Canadian. So whatever money you got from selling your 100 square meter 3-bedroom condo in China, you can buy a brand new upgrade, like $1 million Canadian is very solid money still. Even in Ottawa, you can buy a above average home and you can purchase the home cash, so you don't have to worry about paying rent, you don't have to worry about paying mortgage. So it's very easy for you. If you have a house that's paid off cash, you can just simply work at 7-Eleven. You can be making minimum wage and you can still be living an amazing life because the house is a generational it's a generational wealth, right? Those people, they're shielded from what this generation has gone through. They don't have to go through the stress this generation has gone through. They don't understand the struggle. So the problem is when you let in so many Chinese immigrants who have this kind of money, who can simply sell their homes in Beijing or Shanghai or Shenzhen in tier 1 cities, and they can purchase a home cash. The more these Chinese immigrants buy, that means that there are going to be fewer opportunities for the youth of Canada for this generation, whether you're white or black or Chinese or Arab or Indian, because they're coming in and they're buying all these homes cash. That means that the vacancy rate will continue to drop, and Canada is not building enough houses. So I had an aunt that was she's also obviously divorced. She came to Canada in 2012. She went to a small town, but still back then the houses were so cheap. This was in 2012. So there was another Chinese couple. They went to this new property development company. They said that in the small town of Stratford, Ontario, we're building a bunch of new houses, and these homes were all gorgeous. The one she ended up purchasing was a 2-story, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home with 2 garages and a finished basement. So remember, So this is a 2-story, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, like fully furnished basement and a separate garage. And so that Chinese couple in 2012, they bought that house for $290,000. And just to show how much the property market is basically exploding, my aunt, she ended up coming to Canada 3 months later than them, and just 3 months, the price went up from 290,000 to 330,000, and she still bought that home cash. And so literally within 3 months, the price increased by 40,000, and she ended up selling the house in 2018. Remember, she bought this for $330,000 Canadian cash in 2012. She sold it in 2018 for 600,000. In 6 years, the price nearly doubled. And it's gotten so ridiculous, and the people, it's no wonder why these young people, they cannot afford any houses. And it's not just people saying that, oh, it's the inflation. Back in the day, people paid way less money. So my high school math teacher, he got married maybe around 1980, 1981. I think he bought his first house. He still lives in that house, right? And it's been renovated obviously since he bought it maybe in 1982, 1983, after he got his first job. He told me that the contract he got as a teacher, as a math teacher, his first ever teaching contract, he was being paid $10,000 a year. Well, it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but here's the thing: the house that he bought was $48,000 Canadian. And here's the thing, right? Back in the day, they still allowed a 5% down payment. In fact, back in the day, if you had your parents as a cosigner, you don't have to pay a down payment. I don't think he got his parents as a cosigner, so he paid the 5% down payment, which is $2,400. Like that's absolutely really ridiculous. Right now, his home, I've been to his house many times. I would say it's worth easily 1.2 to 1.3 million dollars. He bought it for $48,000 Canadian back in the 1980s, early 1980s. And there's no way, like, just even adjusted for inflation, people back in the day had it way easier. And also, right now in Canada, anywhere if you want to purchase a home, there's no 5% down payment anymore. Like, it's minimum 20%. I believe in UK it's 25%. Right now in Ottawa, if you want to, even just away from the city, half an hour away from the city, if you want to purchase, let's say, a townhouse, not a semi-house, a townhouse, or, with 10 units, if you bought one of them, is minimum, I would say, $700,000 Canadian. So you would need $140,000 to $150,000 Canadian as a down payment. How are you supposed to come up with this kind of money? And the property crisis in Canada is worsening by day, and I'm really concerned the fact that Canada this year is going to welcome at least another million people, possibly 1.3 million, 1.5 million, because these people will have nowhere to live. The politicians who are letting them in, they don't care, right? They got their 2 million, 3 million, $4 million homes. They bought it cash, right? Because thanks to the neocons and lobbyists. So they're loaded with money. They're shielded from all of this crisis. But when you keep bringing millions of people, and Canada is not building nearly enough houses, so this thing is only going to get worse. It's not about racism or anything. And so many groups have risen up in just the past couple years. There's one group called Save Canada. There's also a new group. Obviously, you saw the Freedom Convoy, and there's another new group. It's called Take Back Canada, because when you go to the extreme left, when your government goes extremely woke, everybody goes to the extreme far right, and now almost everyone in Canada is turning to white supremacist because they're seeing the issue. They're saying that this is absolutely ridiculous. It's destroying our country. Our kids don't have a chance at future. They can't find a job. They can't find a home, and they can't afford to move out. So obviously, many of these parents are pissed off because their son is 35 years old and their daughter is 33, and they're still both living at home, and this adds a lot of stress on the family as well. And this is when you have the breakdown of the nuclear family. It's not normal for kids to be in their 30s to be still living with their parents, but they don't have the choice, because everybody know that is due to a massive uncontrolled immigration. So there's a new group called the Take Back Canada, and they're looking, honestly, they're looking very, very ominous. And one day someone's going to emerge. They're going to be Canada's Tommy Robinson, and there's going to be massive protests all across the street, because their goal is to completely eradicate basically immigration from Canada. And there's a massive issue, and you have to address it. So let me go read some of the comments. I see a lot of comments have been popping up since I talked about the poverty crisis. But if you live in Canada, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's worse than the United States. I would say it's worse than the UK. And at this rate, so many people are going to become homeless. Let me go back and read some of the comments. Oh, there's a lot of comments since I started talking about the property market. Bring down housing values, pay extra taxes. Can Canada recover? No. Right now, like, honestly, Canada has to go to the extremes. You have to shut down immigration completely. And I'll follow up on this point after I read some of the comments. I'll tell you why you need to shut down immigration completely. Unless you shut down immigration completely, I would say for the next 10 years, Canada has no chance. Uh, I hate the kind of people complain now. He is stuck in the matrix. Okay, sure. What? Get rid of Trudeau. But here's the thing: it's not like I think Trudeau has done so much damage to this country. I don't know how Canada can bounce back because the next election I'll be back and I'll be voting for Monsieur Pierre Poilievre. But I don't think he has what it takes to turn this around. I think you need someone extreme. Maybe we need a Canadian version of Nigel Farage. There needs to be a separate party, separate from the Liberals, the Conservatives, or the NDP. Someone needs to come in and say that we need to shut down the borders and take control of Canada. And unless the border is completely shut down, Canada has no hope. Y'all need to start deporting ASAP. Yes, those Indian students who are in Canada illegally, they all need to be deported because it's an immigration scam. And I'll tell you guys how they're doing it. I'll tell you guys how the Chinese immigrants are doing it too. I'll read through some of these comments. I'll tell you the pathway to permanent residence in Canada. I'll tell you guys why this is a huge problem and needs to get shut down. Yes, you make 15K with e-commerce. Okay, Sam, I think you're going to get blocked. That looks like it's a bot. I'm sorry, let me go back this. Yeah, if you guys post a lot of really weird shit, it's usually a bot because I have blocked some bunch of bots in the past. Oh, maybe the comments have stopped coming in. I'll through this. Yeah, don't. If you try to spam the comment section with something really weird over and over again, I've had those before. I think those are usually bots, so I end up blocking them. But I'll skip that. What do you think immigration to Asia? Asian countries will never open up their borders like European countries. So, where the hell? 1 second. I'm pretty sure Sam is a bot. Let me. Is this showing up on this thing? Okay. I removed Sam. Sorry. Imagine sharing a bed with an Indian guy. Yeah, so actually you can look this up. If you type in the Google search bar, type up Brampton, Ontario. So Brampton is the Indian capital of Eastern Canada. I think there's something like in that city, there's like 500,000 Indian people. Like literally, I think there's actually 500,000 Indian people in one city. That's in Canada. That's not in New Delhi or Mumbai. And recently, the police actually raided a house and they found 25 Indian guys sleeping in the basement of one house, just in one house. That's just in the basement. I don't know what's going on upstairs. And all 25 of these Indian people, they were all fake students. They all came in Canada as with the international exchange program. This is a massive scam that needs to be shut down ASAP. And all of these fake students need to be deported because those people are not students. So, yeah, it's bad. Like that's just one house they found, and there are many more like that. Because when I went to Georgian College, like I said, the school is 70 to 80% Indian. I saw a lot of Indian guys were doing it. They had a bunch of guys that were sharing mattresses. That's the only way they can afford to live. Because most of the new people, Indian people that come to Canada, they're not skilled workers. They're just here to work at Walmart or Burger King or McDonald's. They're making minimum wage. The only way they can pay rent is to share a mattress with a bunch of other Indian guys. And I cannot imagine the smell. Just okay, someone, Hanwen, thank you for the $5. Looking forward to your China videos. I want to see the truth and how it looks over there. Thank you so much, Hanwen, for $5. Yeah, I will try to my best to bring original contents. Although in China, when I'm there, there's going to be no politics. This stuff can be extremely depressing, and I want to bring a joy to everybody's faces. So when I go to China, I hope to make a lot of contents that's going to bring a joy, that's going to bring everybody together. And I want you guys to click on the video, and afterwards you can reflect on the video and see that, oh my God, the world is actually an amazing place. There's a lot of positivity and there's a lot of stuff you can look forward to. So that's what I'm going to focus on. So thank you, Hanwen, for the $5. Let me read. Sharing a mattress, it's insane. Yeah. Well, sharing a mattress, I mean, it's not so bad if you have to share it with a girl, right? But you have to share it with like two other Indian guys. I don't know. It's let me see. Stop banning people. Well, if you read some of the comments from a Sam guy, I'm pretty sure that's a bot. So that's why I blocked it. Okay, it's because those bots can be an issue on some of your channels. Same for the West. There's a lot of comments. Well, white dude work at, well, they let a white dude work at a factory job. No, I'll tell you guys, you should be a politician. Okay, there's a lot of comments. I'm just gonna go through these. There are three paths. Okay, both trans men. Okay, a lot of these are comments seem to be trolls. There's no like not a lot of legitimate questions. Hi, how are you? Japan, small island. Uh, have you noticed increased number of subscribers? No, I don't think so. The subscribers are gained for normal videos. I think the lives are already from people who have already watched my videos are previously. Chill, bro. You can apply as English teacher. No, the English teacher thing. I thought about going back to China to teach English. China does not allow that. So you have to be born in one of these five countries. You have to be either born in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, or the United States for you to be qualified to teach English in China. If you're not born in one of these five countries, it doesn't matter. Even if you move to, let's say, the USA as a baby, let's say if you were born in Mexico or something, and then when you were 3 months old, your parents took you to the US and you grew up there, you're not qualified to teach English in China. The only way for you to get the credentials is you have to be born in these countries, and you have to at least have a 4 years university degree, and you have to pass some exams to get the requirements for you to teach English in China. That's the requirement. So I'm not qualified. Even if I am, it doesn't matter if you're an Asian person who is born in America or Canada, and the Chinese government, they still don't want to hire you because when they see you, they think that you speak Chinglish. They think that you cannot really speak English. So they only really want to hire white people to teach English in China. That's the reality. Let me see. Holy, there's a lot of comments. So let me go through these comments. I'll tell you guys the path to immigration. This scam that's happening. Canada's major. Don't say that you'll be labeled far right. Make some. There's a Huang Wen's comment. Poland, Switzerland, random people must smell lovely. Okay, roti party. Hindi Canada, make Canada great again. Curry and jazz. Over 60% below to. Okay, there's the Great Cat. There's a super thank you. I'll go through these because a lot of these comments are trolls. It seems like. So I'm gonna read this. Okay, the Great Cat, $10. How bad do you think it's gonna get before it gets better in terms of immigration in the UK and Canada? Do you think they will double down or come down to their senses like in Nordic countries? Well, I believe it can be reversed. For example, one example is Denmark. So Denmark at one point they decided on open border policy and they took in a bunch of immigrants and refugees. A lot of them are from like Iraq and Syria, right? And it turned out a few years later they said this thing is not working and it's putting a huge string on our healthcare system, on our basically everything in our society. There's a rampant crime going on, and these people they don't want to integrate into society. They don't want to accept the multiculturalism. They don't want to learn Danish, and they don't respect their values. And I believe they deported a bunch of people, and now Denmark's border is completely closed. They've gone back to a completely homogenous country. It is possible. It is a lot harder to do when you're in a big country like Canada or the US, but I think in Canada, honestly, there needs to be a new party that's gonna like what happened with Nigel Farage, like the Reform UK Party. There needs to be a major side party that's going to emerge from the shadows and completely take over. Because the Liberals and Conservatives, the NDP, they have no solution. And like I said, I don't think Canada necessarily needs to shut down immigration altogether, but there needs to be a plan, at least for the immediate future, maybe for the let's say the next 5 years. Unless Canada can get this housing problem sorted out, there's no future for the country. Unless you can build, I would say probably at least 2 to 3 million homes in the next 10 years. Unless Canada can achieve this, Canada cannot take in any more immigrants because the entire system has collapsed. It's not just that, like I mentioned at the start of this video, the healthcare system has completely collapsed. You got a city with 1.5 million people, but there's only 5 hospitals, and you have an average wait time of 9 hours. Many people are going to die because of this, and the problem is very, very severe. Okay, my light has gone out. Okay, it's gone back on. So thank you, the Great Cat, for the $10 super thank you. So how is China? Whatever you hear from the whatever you see on the media, it's all BS. That's all I can tell you. Everything you've been told about China is a lie. It's a made up Western propaganda. That's all I can say. It's a much, much better country versus what they're portraying. I mean, I think the U.S. has way more issues versus China. Let me see. Let me go down. Welcome to Mandarin. Okay, there's a couple more chats. Oh, there's one Calvin Town, $2 Canadian. Yes, Canada is screwed. Yeah, record high unemployment. Yes. So thank you for the $2 super. Thank you, Calvin Town. Yes, Canada is 100% finished. There's no hope for Canada at this rate. The government needs to be toppled and completely taken over. There needs to be a referendum. Okay, Kitty Cats. Thank you for $5. What about a U.S. born retired lady teaching English in China? I'm not white though. Yeah, but do you have a 4 year? You will need to have a 4 year university degree, and you also need to take like the examination. You need to get your credentials. You need to pass a bunch of tests before you can apply to go to China. You should look into the details. I stopped looking into it because the first requirement was that you had to be born in Canada, U.S., UK, Australia, or New Zealand. But if you're Asian or Latino or Black, it's okay too. But if you're born in America, but you do need a minimum of 4 years a bachelor's degree. So thank you for the $5 super. Thank you. Uh, Let me see. Charles Womack, channel member. Thank you for the $5, Charles Womack. Do you have a Canadian passport? Where did you go to school? Grade one to university. I yes, I have a. I don't have a Chinese citizenship. That's why when I go back, I have to stay with my mom because when you have a foreign passport, a lot of hotels won't let you stay. It'll be easier with my mom because our direct relationship. When I travel alone, it's gonna be a little bit difficult. So my mom, she's going to become basically my camera woman. Also, right now, if you go back to China, everything's digital. Everything you need WeChat Pay. So yeah, I have to get a burner phone. I have to set up a lot of things when I go back. So I'm gonna have to stick with my mom because sometimes if I go to a shopping center, a lot of these places don't even take cash anymore. So there's going to be some difficulties. So I have to stick with my mom the entire time. Uh, from grade one through grade six, I didn't actually graduate primary school. I went to school in China, and then from grades, I would say grade 8 to grade 12, I went to high school in Canada. And I went to college in Canada. I went to Georgian College, and right now I'm at Carleton University. I'm about to graduate, and I'm definitely not coming back to school. This is the end. So thank you, Charles Womack. So I came to Canada at the age of 12. I ended up skipping a grade because back when I first went to school in China, you only started school at the age of 7. Then so when obviously China changed this. I think they changed this in 2001. Now it's the same as the West. You start school at the age of 6. So when I went to the West, I had to skip a grade. So I ended up like grade 7 was almost finished. So from grade 8 to grade 12, I went to a small town in Canada. I went to high school there. Then I went to a Georgian College. Then I went to Carleton University. Uh, let's see. Okay. Well, there's a lot of comments. 3 in a row. Dang. What's happening to Uyghurs real? No, that's made up propaganda. That's all I can tell you. Yes, some of those people are locked up, but remember there are 50 million Muslims in China. How many black men are locked up in the United States, right? Just whatever they're showing you is propaganda. Apartment tour. There's really nothing much. I'm about to move out. Race traders, what's up? How much is your rent? It's too expensive. It's over now. Okay, let me talk to you about. So a lot of the comments are trolls. Let me tell you guys about the path to immigration to get permanent residence. I'll tell you guys why there are so many Indians in Canada now. So this all started happening in 2015. In 2015, at all Canadian colleges combined, there was 100,000 international students combined at all Canadian colleges. Right now, there are so in 2023, Canada hit a magic number of 1 million international students, and 70% of the international students are from India. So remember, 100,000 in 2015. And in 2023, 700,000 at Canadian universities. So a net increase of 600,000. So at these all these Canadian colleges, especially the ones in British Columbia, in Ontario, and in Nova Scotia, they have these special recruitment centers in the various parts of India. And yes, a lot of those Indians coming in, they're from the Punjab province. A lot of the new Indians coming in, they're Sikhs. So, or is it called Sikh or Sikh? I think it's called Sikh. So when they come in and they actually don't go to school, right? They pay these recruiters in India. It's set up by these Canadian colleges needs to be held accountable as well because this is a criminal offense. And they say that give us $10,000 in tuition, and we have this program enrolled for you. And the program could be, let's say, a personal grocery shopper, literally personal grocery shopper, or a massage therapist assistant, something that doesn't exist, right? Or they say like two-year diploma in hairstyling, or 4-year degree in hairstyling, or some complete BS that does not exist. So they'll pay $10,000 and they'll come into Canada. Once they come in, they don't actually go to the school, and they have to obviously. But when you come to Canada, you have to look for a place to live. This is the issue. We have a population explosion, so a lot of them, since they can't afford it, a lot of them are making minimum wage, so they end up sharing mattresses. And usually, what happens is they'll apply for some minimum wage job. Usually, it's either at Walmart or Loblaws. Loblaws is the largest grocery store chain in Canada. So yeah, they don't say it. In Canada, they have a program called diversity hiring. It's all bullshit. Right now, the main goal of the diversity hiring is that they're not actually looking for Chinese, or they're not looking for any Arabs. They're not looking for blacks. They're not even looking for gay people. They're specifically looking for Indian people, because that is the only way they can get these people to come in. So once they pay the money, they'll pay $10,000 to some BS phishing scam program, and they come to Canada. They look for a minimum wage job. It's either at Tim Hortons or McDonald's or Burger King or some mall security. And once they get that job, all you have to do is work 1,560 hours. See, I know this whole thing inside out. I even know the exact number of hours. It's 1,560 hours. So this process takes anywhere between 1 to 2 years. So you pay the tuition. It's all fake scam. You don't come to the school. You look to share a mattress with some other Indian guy. That one of your roommates works at Walmart. One of your roommate works at Burger King. You work there for 1,560 hours. And then you apply. You go to the Department of Immigration. You apply for your permanent residence, even though your program does not exist. You don't go to school. You literally came to Canada illegally because all you did was book a flight, and your program doesn't exist. Now all you did was work at Walmart for 1,560 hours. And then you pay the Department of Immigration. I believe it's $1,050 Canadian. Once you pay that money, maybe it takes 10 business days to process, then you get your green card. It takes 1 to 2 years. This is why in Canada there's a population explosion with so many Indian people. This is exactly how they're doing it. They sign up for a fake program at a college that does not exist. They get recruited by these Canadian colleges, and they just go work at Walmart for a year, and they go Department of Immigration and they pay them $1,000, and 2 years later they're permanent residents. And once they're permanent residents, when they get old, you can also collect your pension and social age and the old age security. You don't have to become a Canadian citizen. They can still keep their Indian passport, and they can, whatever they have in India, their assets in India, they can keep their identity, whatever. And well, they get to enjoy all the benefits of becoming permanent residents. When they go to the hospital, all their checkups are free. Okay, this is the greatest scam in history. And I'm serious. I listed in my video earlier about the number of Indian students that's coming. Like, seriously, go to Centennial College, go to Seneca College, go to George Brown College, go to Fanshawe, Conestoga, St. Lawrence College, Algonquin College, Georgian College. Every single one of them, 70 to 80% of all students, not international students, are all Indian people now. Literally within the course of 10 years, all these Canadian colleges, they used to be, just 10 years ago, they used to be like 70 to 80% white. Now it's 70 to 80% Indian. This is a massive scam that must be shut down. And it's destroying the lives of everybody, because some of these colleges, especially if you're in a small town, what happens when in 5 years' time, if you let in 5,000 people from India? That means that all the apartments, all the rental units, all the houses are going to be full. And this is why you have a crisis. This is why people can't afford the rent. This is why people can't afford to buy a house, because some of these small towns, they've been completely taken over by these fake international Indian students who are working at Walmarts. And it is a major, major issue. Everybody knows this. The fact that this has gone on for almost 10 years is unbelievable. Like, all these people, even the school chancellors, the principals, they all need to be prosecuted for this crime. Let me read some of these comments. Okay, I'm going to go back to read some of these comments. Race traders, let's see. Why on me? Did you have homework in school? Of course, there's homework in school. I've been in school for 6 years now. India versus China, who will win? Depends on what. If it's they're going to all out war, then China will win. Jessica Lynn, Jacqueline. Why do you still sound Asian though? Okay. Oh, it's your. No, my university degree is in Bachelor of Commerce. Commerce is trading, business, economics. Yeah. So sorry, my light keeps turning off. Okay. Sup, my rice brother. Wow, really contextualized it. Runner P Diddy still what? Okay, there's a lot of trolls in the comments. Every college is recruitment. India might need 2-child policy. Spelled sick, pronounced sick. Okay. Yeah, I think it's pronounced as sick. It's not seek. So diversity hiring. Yeah, the diversity hiring program is just literally called, like in the US, you call it DEI, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion. In Canada, it's ridiculous. I filled out that form many times. It's just literally called diversity hiring. And on the first page of your application, they don't actually give a shit about meritocracy. It literally asks you, right? Are you Chinese? Are you Indian? Are you Aboriginal? Like, are you Eskimo? Are you Métis? Are you black? Are you Arab? Like all of this. Then after they ask you, what's your sexual orientation? Like Canada has gotten so woke, it's gotten so bad. It asks you like, are you gay? Are you straight? Are you lesbian? Like, are you like trigender? Or like, what? No, not trigender. Are you non-binary? Are you two-spirited? Are you gender fluid? Are you gender non-conforming? Are you queer? It actually does that on the job application. Like Canada has completely fallen. It's gotten so freaking bad. I couldn't believe it while I was filling out this application form. But even though they're saying all of these things, they're really the one thing they're looking for is that, are you Indian? So now, if you I'm serious, if you drive down the largest highway in the world is Highway 401. It's actually the busiest highway in the world. So Highway 401 passes through the Greater Toronto area every single day on a weekday between Monday to Friday. There's roughly 500,000 cars that passes by. If you drive down, let's say 401, you're starting from Ottawa. You go get onto the well, you need to take the 417 and the 416, and you get onto 401. So along the 401, when you drive down to like Toronto, Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, London, you go through all the cities, right? So once every maybe 30 minutes, there's a rest area by the highway. So in the rest area, obviously there's like Starbucks, Tim Hortons, Subway, Burger King. You get the idea. Like 10 years ago, when I was driving down, when I stopped by these rest areas, like 90% of these people that worked at these rest areas were all white people. Now, if you go in, every Tim Hortons, every Burger King, the washroom employees, the shop employees, the souvenir shop employees, the janitors, every single one of them is Indian. They have been completely just literally within like the last 10 years, every single one of those people are Indian now. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, how can they grow so fast? Is because they specifically down the application they're looking for Indian. They will only hire Indian people. This is part of the immigration scam. This is why there's so many of them can come in so fast. So let me. Do you hate Islam? No, I have nothing against the Islam. So let me see. 2 years. That's it. Imagine sharing mattress. You got morning wood at the same time. Okay. Diet, exercise, having food. Okay, there's a lot of comments. I'll tell you guys another thing. Wait, did I miss a super thank you? I think okay, I'll tell you guys another thing about the what did I say? About the immigration scam, right? This is also an issue with many of these Chinese people that's coming. Do you guys want to know why they want so many immigrants so bad? Because it suppresses the value of labor, suppresses the wages. Because if you had to hire, let's say, a native, a good-looking white dude at a factory, you probably have to pay that guy at least $20 or even $25 an hour. So why pay that guy at least $20 an hour to do the same manual labor? I can just get someone from India to come in. That guy will probably work for half the money. That guy's gonna say, "Oh, I'll work for $10 an hour." Then you can get someone that's illegal from Bangladesh. That guy says, "Oh, my family lives in extreme poverty. I'll work 72 hours a week, and you can pay me $8 an hour." Then someone from Nepal is gonna come in and say that, "Oh, my family is even poorer. I'll work 80 hours a week, and I'll take $6 an hour." That's why they want so many immigrants, because it's a lot more expensive to hire white people, right? And it's unfortunately that's the reality. It's much cheaper to hire illegal immigrants. So most of the Chinese people coming to Canada, okay, they probably have a house in China. The reason why they have to be financially stable if they choose to immigrate to another country. And unfortunately the poorer ones, a lot of I would say maybe 20%, I would say maybe 20% of the Chinese immigrants come to Canada. They're probably in the same boat as those Indian people. They're extremely poor. They don't have a choice. So what they end up doing is that they will work at all these mom and papa shops, for example, a local convenience store, or usually a Chinese restaurant, or like a local grocery store, and they will end up working for free. Yes, you heard me correct. If you know some of these stores, for example, if you live in Ottawa, the store, like if you heard of Mongolian Hot Pot, the Chinese restaurant, I think they shut down. They were actually, all of their cooks, all of their chefs, and all their dishwashers, busboy, waiters, waitress, they were all working for free. No, I'm serious. Even the supermarket Green Fresh, they were all. This is also the system. I'm pretty sure the Canadian government is aware of this, and this is why you have to do something about it. So all those Chinese people, they're all working for free. They don't pay anything, and so the people working in some of these restaurants, they're literally working 72 to 84 hours a week with no pay, no pension, no benefit. They're being completely abused. It's 100% against labor law. And do you guys want to know why these Chinese people are willing to sign up to do this? Because most of the Chinese people who do these, they came to Canada illegally. Some of these, they literally probably they hopped on shipping containers. I'm not sure exactly how they arrived, and they probably just arrived at the port of Vancouver, or maybe in the U.S. if you arrived in the port of San Francisco or Seattle, and you end up finding some illegal job. But the thing is that the reason why some of these Chinese people are willing to do these, they're willing to work 72 to 84 hours a week for free. Is that all you have to do is you work for free for maybe 1 to 2 years. The thing is that you have an agreement with your boss. Let's say if you work at a restaurant, they give you a place to sleep. You'll sleep at some storage room, literally at the back. And they say if you work at a restaurant, you can eat all the free leftover food. So this way you have your shelter, you have your food paid for, so you can work for free for 2 years. Now after 2 years, magically, because some of these restaurants, they have Chinese lawyers that's set up, magically just working after coming to Canada, literally on shipping container, that's illegally, they can get their permanent residence. I'm not sure how exactly they're doing it, but that's what listen, there are thousands of Chinese immigrants who do this. They're extremely poor. They come to Canada illegally. They don't have the paperwork done. They end up working for free, which suppresses the value of labor. It's a major issue, because that's why if you go to Toronto, some of these restaurants, you realize that how come their food be so cheap, right? It's because they have free labor. They don't have a payroll. They'll pay those people anything. So they go through this phase, and once those people work for a year or 2 years, they'll have a new batch of illegal immigrants that can come in that can also work for free, and they do it for a year or two, and some Chinese lawyer is going to come in and get them their green card. Yeah, this is a massive issue. It's also contributing. It's not just the Indian people. It's also contributing to Canada's population explosion, because the rich Chinese, they just sell their home and they buy a brand new home, which makes the housing poverty even worse, makes the housing crisis worse. And the poor Chinese people who come here illegally, they end up working at those Chinese restaurants, which surpasses the value of labor, because now those Chinese restaurants, they can charge like 30% less for their dishes. And this will be a massive issue for the native Canadian restaurants, because that's going to shut down their business, right? And you're allowing these people to do this. And these people, after working illegally for a year or two, they can all get their green card. Like Canada's heading out permanent residents like nothing now. Like last year, you got 1.3 million people just last year alone. This is outrageous. This is like free all for all. It's like you get a green card, you get a green card, you get a green card. This whole system needs to be shut down. This is why the country is getting destroyed. Yeah, I'm serious. Like I personally know a bunch of Chinese people who did that. They worked for free for absolutely nothing. I asked them, why were you willing to do it? Because they said that after a year or two, they got their permanent residence just by working illegally for nothing. I think there was another super thank you. Oh, Maximus Young. Maximus Young, thank you for $5. Oh, this is your third super chat. Thank you so much, Chinese based historian Black Bill. Thank you so much for $5, Maximus Young. Let me just read some of these more comments. Let's see. Salute. It's a Romanian flag. Minus 9,000 credit score. I don't have social credit score. Work hard. Your light's gone. You didn't pay the bills. Do China and India have better relations than USA and China? I don't think China likes India too much, but they cannot really be worse. It's like they're frenemies, I guess. Well, they do share a huge border with each other. You know, you don't want to piss off your neighbors too much. So they don't really like each other, but they don't really hate each other. Let me see. They let international students work very low hours. See, that's where you're wrong. Because a lot of those Indian people, they work illegally for cash under their table. So that's why it suppresses the value of labor. A bunch of those Indian students in Brampton, Mississauga, they're working like 72 to 84 hours a week. And they're getting paid cash, maybe like $8 an hour. And that's the issue, because if you work for a construction company, right, and the white people are all going to lose their jobs, because who's going to hire a white guy they have to pay you, $20 to $25 an hour when they can get an Indian guy that's working for $10 an hour cash? So that is also a major concern. Let me see this smell. How does American become a Chinese citizen? You cannot become a Chinese citizen. China is not like America or the UK. You think they hand out green cards like crazy? The only way to live in China permanently as a foreigner, well, the easiest way is that you have to marry a Chinese woman. And you cannot do it in America or Canada. Go to China, marry a Chinese woman, you'll instantly get your permanent residence. You get a permanent residence, but that's different from a citizenship, right? So you always, you'll still be a foreigner. But once you get your permanent residence, you don't ever, if you want to spend the rest of your life in China, it's totally fine. You don't have to leave because it is permanent. It doesn't have to get renewed. But the other way is that, for example, if you meet the qualifications, if you find a job, if you find a high-tech company, or if you want to teach English in China, you can get a work visa, which has to be renewed every year. But it should be pretty easy to renew as long as you don't do something crazy like sexually assault your student. Just show up to work and do what you're supposed to do. Then after 5 years, usually you can apply for permanent residence. So that's what you need to do. Unless you marry a Chinese woman, the other way to do is just find a job and get a work visa and renew your visa every year. After 5 years, you can apply for a permanent residence, and you have to pay some small fee, but I don't think it's a big deal. The only way to get Chinese citizenship is that you have to be somebody really special. You have to be like a celebrity. For example, if you're LeBron James or Steph Curry or Erling Haaland, if they wanted to represent Team China in their respective sports, China will pay them literally $50 million a year for Chinese citizenship. That's only the extreme special cases where people can be given Chinese citizenship. The other way is to get a permanent residence. And if you really, really want to move to China, the easiest way to do is to find a local Chinese woman and get married. Once you get married, you will have your permanent residence. So, yeah, that's for our Tax Max Facts Thunderclap. It's quite a name. Some Indians don't wash their hair for years. Yeah, I've always wondered, especially the Sikhs with their turban. Like, how do you wash that out? Even if after you wash it, how do you dry that out? That's got to be a major, major concern. And it's also a safety concern as well, because some of those Indians, they ride their motorcycle in the summer. And with the turbans, like, that should be against law, because you cannot wear a helmet. So, but that's the Canadian government for you. Canada is turning into a 100% joke now. And not just that, right? With the rampant, I'm sorry to say, you guys want to know the carjacking capital of the world? It's actually Canada's largest city now. It's the city of Toronto. So in Toronto last year in 2023, there was over 120,000 carjackings. What the media doesn't want you to know is that they do publish the numbers, right? The number of carjackings. It's gotten that bad. 120,000 carjackings in 1 year. Canada is turning into a third world country. But what they don't mention is that I can guarantee you is that 99% of the perpetrators in these carjackings, okay, they're either from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, or they're from Middle East, or they're black, okay? I would say probably 70 to 80% of the time it's a group of Indian gangs, especially based in Brampton and Mississauga and the Halton region. They're literally forming gangs in India. And if you don't believe me, go to Brampton. And if you think it's actually a safe city, the carjackings has gotten so bad everywhere. Like nowhere is safe. Nobody's safe. Even the Toronto Maple Leafs player, the professional athlete, right? He had a gun that was held to his head. It was a Mitch Marner. That was a couple years ago. He just got out of the Cineplex, just watched a movie with his girlfriend. He was about to hop into his Range Rover or Land Rover, and a group of Indian guys literally jumped at him with a gun, and they took his Range Rover, just like that. The carjacking has gotten so bad, and I'm sorry to say, it's all done by non-white immigrants. And there's a lot of issues, and the media always wants to hide it, but like that's the truth. You have an issue, and this thing, it needs to be addressed and needs to be fixed. They need to get. It's the same thing in Canada, the two-tier policing system. Okay, it's complete garbage, and it's destroying this country, and it's making everybody racist, because everybody knows. If you actually dig into the case, everybody knows who the suspects are. Everybody knows that those are all non-white immigrants, but the news always censor those news, and the police they won't do shit about it. They only arrest the white people who do it. Let me read through more of these comments, and I'll talk more about immigration. Let me see. Do you even understand why Canada needs immigrants though? Ruben. So I did mention in my video, Canada has the highest population growth in the world as percentage of population. Okay, so Canada's population since Trudeau took power grew by 7 million. You want to put that into context? That's the equivalent of the United States gaining 63 million people. 63 million people in 8 years. You don't think that's gonna cause a problem with the infrastructure of housing? And it's everything. Go to city of Toronto, especially now they got a construction on the Gardner Expressway. So the Gardner Expressway runs across the city of Toronto. Right now it's under construction for, they're saying, the next 3 years, which I don't even know how the hell it can be that slow. But with the recent population explosion, and most of the immigrants are coming to major cities like the Greater Toronto Area, like Vancouver, or Calgary, or Edmonton, or Ottawa, or Montreal. So it's not just that the infrastructure, because most of these immigrants were coming in, like you're probably going to purchase a car. Maybe you can't afford the new one, but you probably need at least a 10-year-old Honda Civic. Right now, the traffic in Toronto is one of the worst in the world. It's a complete gridlock, because literally the city's population probably grew by 50% in the past 20 years, and the city is no longer able to cope. It causes all kinds of issues, and it's not just crime or healthcare or infrastructure, and I'm not talking about the roads as well. And not just that, the schools cannot cope anymore because so many schools in Toronto, they're being completely maxed out because so many classrooms are designed. You have a maximum of anywhere between 30 to 35 students. And with the population explosion, like so many schools, they're on the verge of breaking down because they can no longer separate their students because every single classroom is completely maxed out. So this is a stress on the healthcare providers. This is a stress on the educational providers as well. It's a stress on the teachers, a stress on the principals. It causes all kinds of issue. Yes, immigration can work, but like I said, in the 1970s and 1980s, Canada was welcoming 150,000 immigrants per year. Now Canada is at 1.3 million. And back in 1970s, Canada was building 270,000 homes per year, and now Canada is building 240,000. So the housing construction rate has completely plummeted, but the population has doubled, and the immigration level is 10 times versus what it was 50 years ago. This is why you have all kinds of issues. Same thing with UK. Up until 1997, up until Tony Blair took office, UK's net migration level was 30,000 immigrants per year. Until 1997, do you know how many people came into UK in the last 2 years? 2.5 million. No, I'm serious. 2.5 million people came in. This is legal and illegal combined. 1.2 million came in legally, 1.3 million came in illegally. How do you think a country the size of UK, which is smaller than New Zealand, how can they cope? Yes, the immigration can work, but up until 1997, the UK was taking in a net of 30,000 immigrants per year. Now it's at 1.25 million because they took in 2.5 million in 2 years. But this is where you have to see the issue. It's completely out of control, and unless something drastic has to be done, or like the Western civilization is going to be completely destroyed. This is why in Canada there are 300,000 people that's homeless now. Like when I first came to Canada in 2005, there are virtually no homeless people. Maybe across the entire country there could be 10 or 20,000, but now it's more common. You see it every single day. The fact that there are 300,000 people that's homeless is all due to the population explosion because. If you have a city, let's say you have a city with 100,000 people, if you have a million homes, that means that homes are going to be extremely cheap, right? Everybody can get a home for $50,000. However, if you have a city with 100,000 people, right, then you took in 10 million immigrants and refugees. Now your city has 10 million people, but the number of homes are still remain the same. There's still only 1 million home for 10 million people. That means that 70 to 80% of the population in the city are going to be homeless. That's just the reality. Immigration is completely out of control. It's completely unchecked. And this is the number one issue. You cannot be taking over 1 million people a year. And just imagine, however bad the US is, they're actually doing a lot better than Canada in terms of controlling their borders. I'm sorry to say. But yeah, imagine over the course of 8 years, if US population grew by 63 million, because that's what Canada is dealing with right now. So my light keeps going on. Okay. Let me read why aren't Canadians voting against this? But the Conservatives, I don't know what kind of plan they have. They might try to restrict immigration, but right now, honestly, for at least the next 5 years, Canada cannot be taking any more people. Right? No more immigrants until Canada can get a housing crisis sorted out. Okay, let me read through some more comments. Where are you planning to move to? Not sure exactly, but I'll see. Definitely not a Western country. The West is finished, I believe. How about going to live in a city that's declining population? Those cities have cheaper housing. You gotta be careful about moving to a city with cheaper housing. Usually, there's a direct correlation. Generally, where there's extremely cheap housing, that means there's rampant crime. It's the exact same thing in the UK, in the United States, and Canada. If you go to some place that's extremely cheap, it's cheap for a reason. Usually there's rampant crime going on in that city. That's why the housing crisis is so cheap. You don't want to be living through a drive-by shooting every single day. You got to be careful. There's a reason why it's cheap. Let me see. I endured that homelessness for the first time. This guy doesn't understand he's an immigrant. I don't know what you're talking about, Joshua Taylor. I said that. I'll just skip that. How do you feel about rural areas in North America? I don't know. I don't feel good about anything that's happening in the West. Honestly, it doesn't matter if it's urban or rural. It's all declining very, very fast. Move to South America. Okay, living in London, declining city. Okay. So I'm gonna talk more about the issue since this live stream is talking about the immigration, right? And the number of issues that's causing. So when I When I first moved to Canada, I lived in a small town. That town at the time, I would say my high school was probably like 95% white. In my grade, there was only like, including me, there was three Chinese students, and there was like a couple blacks, couple Indians, couple Korean, couple Japanese, but the vast majority of people was white, right? And when you show up, right, it's okay when you have a little bit of diversity. When I first showed up, everybody was interested. They say, "Oh, what's life like in China? How did you grow up? Did you know any like person of color that's not Chinese, like in your hometown?" And we had conversations and stuff. And I honestly think when I first showed up to Canada, Canada was honestly, I don't believe there's institutionalized racism. I do believe there's individual based racism. I think Canada back in 2005, 2006 was nowhere nearly as racist because there was way less immigrants. When you showed up, people were actually curious. They asked you questions about China and stuff, and we could have a nice conversation. But over the course of the last 20 years, Canada has gradually gotten more and more and more racist. And I can understand why, because there are way too many immigrants. And if you look at some of these schools, especially in the big cities, sometimes I walk into the high schools, you see those yearbook photos, right? You see the class, if you go back, you see the class of like 1980, almost all white students. Then class of 1990, maybe 80% white. Then class of 2000, 60% white. Now, like in all the high schools in Ottawa, I'm pretty sure white students are a minority in every single high school in Ottawa. Some of the schools, they're only 10 or 20% of the population. You can see the dramatic change in demographics. It's gone from like an all white school to like a 20% white school. So yeah, a lot of people are obviously they're feeling more hostile. They're feeling pissed off. There's a lot of these white parents are saying that, oh no, my son or my daughter is a complete minority at the school, and they're being completely zoned out, and they're getting picked on, and everybody's making fun of them because it's only okay to make fun of white people. This is an issue when you go to the extreme left, and then you force all the other people to go to the extreme right. This is why we have the political polarization, and honestly it's going to lead to a civil war. It's very, very dangerous because there are just simply endless waves of never ending immigrants is coming in, and it's being there has to be some kind of regulation because you cannot just keep on letting this happening because trust me, when white people becomes a minority in this country, which is probably going to happen within the next 10 to 15 years at this rate, and Canada is going to become a complete shithole country. If you don't believe me, go to any Canadian city where the vast majority of the population are immigrants. Okay, every single one of those places I went to, for the most part, is a complete shithole. Even with the parts I went to, for example, if you go to Markham or like Richmond, BC, where the vast majority of the population are Chinese, sure, there's not a lot of crime. Their places are quiet, it's relatively safe, but the housing market is so freaking bad. Any regular home will cost you like $1.5 million or $2 million. It's completely unlivable unless you're in the top 10 or 5% of income earners. They have made the property markets in these cities where mass majority population are Chinese have completely crashed. They have completely destroyed the housing market to the point where it's unlivable for over 90% of the population. And there's a kind of issue that makes people hostile towards Chinese people. They're saying that, oh, look at these people, they're coming and taking our homes. So now our sons, our daughters, they cannot afford any homes. And the fact that and the fact that they're basically right now, it doesn't matter which party you vote for, the Liberals or Conservatives or ADP or Bloc Québécois, none of them have a solution. And they're honestly, like I said, unless Canada is willing to say that we need to shut down a border for the next 5 to 10 years and rethink everything, nothing is going to get solved. Things are only going to get worse. So I think what needs to happen is that this problem can be solved. So from the Quebec City to Windsor corridor, that's roughly where 50% of the population in Canada actually lives. There needs to be millions of more homes that's being built in the cities. Screw the rights of this. Like, stop worrying about hurting the feelings of any particular community, because unless you can solve the housing crisis, more and more people are going to become homeless, and you'll see more 30 and 40-year-olds that's still living there with their parents, and that's going to cause a serious dent, a serious harm in their family's relationship. It's not just healthy for a guy that's 35 or 40 to be living with their parents. At some point, you need to move on, but for this to be made possible, Canada needs to build millions of more homes. So what Canada needs to do is that we need to take back take back control of our colleges and take back control of the trade schools, because these schools are supposed to pump out licensed electricians, plumbers. We need carpenters. We need people who do the manual labor. We need the bricklayers. We need the people who do the sheet metal. We need the people who do the HVAC. We need the people who are doing the we need people who are doing laying down the pipes, doing the copper wires, all of that work. And it's extremely important. That's what the colleges are meant for. First, we need to shut down this international student scam that's coming from India. After you shut down this program, because that's the one thing the feminists they won't apply for, right? They say that we need to crush the patriarchy, we need all the good paying jobs, but they won't apply to any of these jobs in the trade. We need to encourage more men. We need to stop feminize men. We need to stop attacking men. And we need men to go to these colleges to fill these programs so that within the next 5 to 10 years, Canada can literally pump out 500,000, million, or 2 million fully licensed electricians, plumbers, sheet metal guys, carpenters. So Canada can actually start building these homes. We need these blueprints. We need engineers to lay out the blueprints. And Canada needs to build millions of these homes. And in the meantime, on top of shutting down the Indian students' international student scam, Canada needs to close down its borders. And it is possible if you pump out millions of these people who are in the trade, millions of young men who are willing to work hard, who are willing to, give Canada a shot, who wants to start a family, who wants to buy a home in the future. We need to give these guys a good paying jobs. These people need to be able to make 100,000, 125,000. And Canada then can build 3, 4, 5 million homes within the next 5 to 10 years. Then this housing crisis can all get solved. Because unlike the UK is completely full. Like, they should not have any immigrants at all. Just think about England alone. England is less than half the size of New Zealand, right? England alone has 56 million people. It's completely outrageous. They have nowhere to build. The entire country is completely full. There's nowhere for these people to go. But Canada, Canada is the second largest country in the world in terms of total area. And so you really need these young men to go into the trade to actually build these millions of homes in Canada. That's the first start. That is a start to solving these problems. And the current Indian students, if they want to join in, that's totally fine too. But they should not be taking part of this scam of signing up, paying the university $10,000 or $20,000 for personal grocery shopping, and go to work at Walmart for 2 years to get your 1,560 hours, then in order to get your permanent residence. If you really want to contribute to society, then go to a trade school, actually get a license, and start building these homes, because that's the number one issue in Canada is the housing crisis. And this is where you have to start. Make the colleges and trade schools actually real schools that can pump out, qualified individuals that can build homes in Canada. And no society throughout history has ever survived without a strong, muscular young man. And that's exactly what Canada needs right now. Stop pushing the 2S LGBTQ agenda. Stop trying to make everybody gay. At my school, they're putting tampons in the man's bathroom. It's a complete shame and disgrace to the Trudeau and Liberal government. Yeah, we need to make men again, and men are going to be strong, and we're going to carry the tools, we're going to carry the hammers, and we're going to build millions of homes in Canada. That's how you can save this country. That's how you start. You shut down the border and start building homes. So let me read some of these comments. I've been ranting for a while. Let me go back and see if there's questions. He wants that white privilege. What? Well, there's a lot of new comments. Let me see. Just going to go through some of these comments and see if there's some questions. So I'm approaching 72 minutes. I said this will be 2 hours, so we're good. I think I've covered some of the key points. Oh, sorry, I missed. So there's a super chat from Shouting from the Sky for $5. So thank you so much, Shouting from the Sky, for a $5 super chat. Fake Chinese income mortgages fuel Toronto real estate bubble. HSBC bank leaks. Yes, 100%. You're 100% correct about that. So this is also a major issue. Like I said, it's not just about Indian people coming in. I think Canada, at least for the next 5 years, needs to stop all forms of immigration, because it's not doing any good for this country. We need young college graduates to build millions of more homes. That's what Canada needs. So thank you so much, Shouting from the Sky, for $5. Let me see. Hating on Chinese. It's 3 a.m. here. I'm going to sleep. Well, thank you for joining my live stream. Let me see. Aren't you talking about Texas? No, I'm not talking about Texas. Not sure. Vancouver is amazing though. Unfortunately, it's the most expensive city in the world. It's a living hell. There's no way you can afford to live there unless if you win a couple $1,000,000 to the casino, maybe it's not so bad. Let's see. A lot of people are talking. Oh, there's another some random black dude. Oh, thank you for the super chat. This is super chat. I'm gonna read this. So some random black dude. Thank you for $5 from the USA. You hit the key points and made a very good argument. Oh, thank you so much. I think the US is going through the same issue, but trust me, the US, the housing market is not as bad as Canada. Canada, it's literally in the it's Canada's fourth stage cancer right now. That's where it is at. Shit has hit the fan. It's diarrhea has hit the air conditioner. That's what I have to say. But it's going to be a lot of issues. Like if you're from the U.S., if you think the U.S. is bad, stay there. Don't come to Canada. Canada is completely destroyed. So let me read some of the comments. Let me read some more comments before I talk about some other stuff. Do you think meat will be banned in the future? Well, all vehicles? No, why would meat be banned? Well, I don't think. Well, if Canada gets to that stage, then the Western civilization is finished. And the electric vehicles, look, if you live in, let's say, California, well, don't go to California. You should get the hell out of California. Okay, this is the thing. This is one thing that's very important for you to mention. So many people fall this for this. You know, the liberals and the Democrats, they keep saying that, for example, in California, oh, we're going to tax the rich. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to tax the rich. Oh, that's all a bullshit lie. Do you know what happens when you tax the rich so much? Look at what happened to Klaus Schwab. And look at what happened to, what's that guy's name? Oh, Elon Musk, obviously, the most obvious one. They used to live in California, right? And they got the Democrats and liberals, they keep saying that we're going to tax the rich, we're going to tax the rich. So they had to pay so much taxes. Guess what happened? They moved to Texas, where they have to pay way less taxes. And look at the company that Ben Shapiro runs. Even though I don't agree with some of the points Ben Shapiro make, but he's definitely right on some subjects. He moved from California. He basically, well, I don't think he's a CEO. He co-founded Daily Wire. It's the CEO is Caleb Robinson and what's his name? Caleb Robinson and Jeremy Boring. I don't agree with a lot of the points from the Daily Wire, but one smart move they made was moving from California to Florida because Ben Shapiro moved to Florida. Then the Daily Wire moved from California to Tennessee. Guess what? In Tennessee, you pay zero taxes. Zero. So the Democrats, this is literally a retard plan because you tax the billionaires so much, so they all end up moving to another state. So they pay 10 times less taxes, or in some cases, no taxes at all. And now the state is losing on revenue from the tax stream because the billionaires, that's your go-to target, right? That's where you get most of your income. That's where you get most of your revenue. So when you tax the billionaires so much, you keep saying tax the rich, they all leave. So what happens? They ran out of money, so they end up taxing the middle class. That's why California, there's so much poverty, homelessness, because the people who are making $50,000 a year, they're getting taxed so hard. The government is taxing the shit out of them because the rich billionaires, the Daily Wires, the Klaus Schwabs, the Elon Musks, they all have left because so many celebrities have left Hollywood because they're getting taxed so much. So the system doesn't work. It's a complete fake scam, and you need to be able to realize that. When they say tax the rich, it's all bullshit because when you tax the rich, they will just simply move to another state where they don't get taxed so much, and all the people that end up suffering are the poor people in the end and the middle class. That's why California has so many issues. Do not move to California. Sorry, I got off track. I was talking about electric vehicles. Yes, if you live in a warmer state, let's say Arizona, or maybe Texas is definitely a better choice than California, or move to Florida. I think electric vehicles is fine, but if you live in cold places, like if you live in Chicago or New York or any Canadian city, don't buy electric vehicle because in the winter you will run into a lot of issues. I see all the time. Sometimes your car's not going to start when it's extremely cold. Yes, it happens with regular batteries, car batteries as well, but you have a much better chance with a gas-powered vehicle. Like the electric vehicles also, if the government wants to shut your car down, they can shut it down at any time. So yeah, it's okay if you live in a warm place or if you live in Mexico, but if you live in Canada or if you live in Chicago or New York, do not go with electric vehicle because during the winter, it's going to give you all kinds of issues. And yes, think about in the places like California, they keep talking about taxing the rich. It's all bullshit because when you tax the rich, they just run away and the middle class has to pay for it. That's the reality. Fidel Castro Jr. Okay. Let me see. Just accepted. Hi. Let me read some more comments. Build homes that 9% of unique owners will hoard the property and soak up all the losses that maintains demand. Oh, also one more thing. Yeah, that's a good point. One thing I want to mention, some Chinese people are also doing this. This should not be allowed. Right now, I believe there's like a foreign income buyer's tax. For example, if some Chinese billionaire wants to buy a couple homes in Toronto and Vancouver and they just let it sit there, I think they have to pay either a 10 or 15% like vacant home tax. That's all bullshit. Listen, if you're a Chinese dude with a net worth of 50 million or $100 million and you buy a home in Toronto for $3 million cash, right? You buy a mansion. Do you think that guy with $100 million net worth is going to give a shit if he has to pay extra $300,000 a year in a vacant home tax? Because the home is going to increase by that much anyways. Right now, at the rate Canada is going, like the housing prices is going to double once every 10 to 15 years. So what some of these Chinese immigrants do is that, for example, let's say they just have a newborn son or daughter, and this Chinese couple is going to say that we're going to send our son or daughter to a Chinese school, so that at least from grade 1 to maybe middle school. So this way, the guy can become fluent in Mandarin Chinese. He can learn about Chinese culture. He can learn about Chinese history. He can learn about make some Chinese friends. So once he understands everything about China, once my son is let's say 14 years old, when he gets to high school, we're going to send him to Canada. So this way that he can learn everything about Western civilization. And they say that this is the advantage because you can learn the best of two sides. And so some of these rich Chinese people, as soon as they have a kid, a son or daughter, they will literally go to Canada or the US and they will buy a home for cash for a couple million and they just let it sit there. And that's also an issue because right now Canada's 1.5% the vacancy rate. Even that's a hoax. That's a mirage. That's a lie. Because that 1.5% comes from rich people who own multiple homes or rich billionaires overseas from Belgium or Netherlands or Luxembourg, and they have a winter or summer vacation home in Canada. They bought it for a couple $1 million and they're just letting it sit there. And that's also the issue, right? Canada needs to ban this practice. Foreigners cannot simply just come to Canada. They buy a home for a few $1 million and just let it sit there. And this is a major concern as well. So that's a good point. Thank you for bringing up that point. Yeah, the issue is that a small select number of individuals with a little bit of cash in their hands, they're buying up all the empty homes in Canada, and at least the middle class with absolutely no choice. That's also the contributing factor to why Canada's property market is rapidly crashing because it's gotten so expensive. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future. You will see a lot of multi-generation homes in the future. Like a lot of white and black and Canadians are going to basically copy the Indians, right? Basically every single family member, the great grandparents, the grandparents, the parents, the children, they're all going to be living under one household because that's what the Indian people are doing. That's how they're able to survive. Feel bad for Canada. Okay, let me read some more comments. I don't take advice from a guy with jacked up ceiling tiles. I'm just renting an apartment, so that's okay. Tommy just blocked. What a boot, Canada. Sean is also buying back their stock. Dude, I love your shit. I am originally from Ottawa. However, I live in Changchun, Jilin province in 4 years. I love it. Which part are you from? Is this a bot or is this real? Jackson Prime? I live in not Changchun. I live in Jilin, which is like 1 hour away. So if you're actually living in Changchun, if you're watching this live stream, you're like only an hour away from my hometown. If that's not a bot, if it's real. So it's good to see you. From my mom used to live in Changchun when she had her business, but unfortunately she lost her business back in 2010. She lives in a separate city now, but my hometown is in Jilin, China. Let me see. Read some of Warnie's comments. Why are you? Britain is now literally police dystopian novel. Please, he's fed up with the BS. Do you keep Chinese permanent residency after divorce? Killer Pascal, do you keep Chinese permanent residency after divorce? That's a great question. I'm not sure. That's something worth mentioning because yeah, I'm gonna look into that because well, obviously 30, 40 years ago there was virtually no divorces, but now yes, people can definitely get fake married in China and they get divorced and try to keep their green card in China. I'll look into that. I'm not sure, but I think that's a very good question. I imagine not because there's so many divorces now because so many people could literally could fake it. They could say, oh, let's just get married for 3 months. Let's get divorced. So this way I can get my green card. Now I'll pay you a little bit of money for getting fake married because obviously in China, there's no stigma anymore around divorces because literally everybody's getting divorced. It's like the new trendy thing. So I'll look into that. But if the fastest way to get permanent residency, like don't do fake marriage or divorce. Really, if you want to go to China, find a Chinese girl that you love and actually get married. And whatever happens, try the best you can to make your marriage work. And that's the best suggestion I can give you. So, smelly multi-generational farts, India, China, Billy. Yeah, a lot of comments are getting automatically flagged. I'm not trying to go through those comments. Like the comment section is going crazy. Some of those are, I can see on my screen, it says it's automatically flagged. Do you want to view the comment? I'm not gonna bother going through them. So let's see. I'm gonna read through more of these comments. We're good on time. We're at 83 minutes, so we're gonna stay on for another like half an hour, 36 minutes. So property developers, but at what cost? Hey, what got you mad? You're hilarious, bro. I'm not sure. Nintendo Wear. Okay, I think a lot of these comments are trolls, so I'm gonna ignore the comments for now. I think you guys are maybe talking to each other. So yeah, it's good. We still have 161 people that's on this live stream. I'm going to talk about yeah, I'll give you guys some more details since I did say I got my Chinese visa recently approved. So I think you guys understand that the key points about immigration. So uh, uh it's getting closer. I'll talk about the future of this channel. It's getting closer to election day. So I'm preparing a series that's gonna start in September. I did mention I want to cover communism and socialism. So I think a really good place to talk about communism and socialism is the Soviet Union. It's extremely important that if you guys want to understand this. So I'm preparing a series that's gonna run until the end of the year. So it's probably gonna last 3.5 months. I'm gonna start with talking about the end of the Romanov dynasty. I'm going to talk about Comrade Lenin, his days at the University of Kazan, where he met his wife. I'm going to talk about the April thesis. I'm going to talk about how the Germans basically sent him on a train from Switzerland to travel to Russia in order to get the Russians to pull out of the war. I'm going to talk about the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. I'm going to talk about John Kerensky. I'm going to talk about the Bloody Sunday, the October Revolution. I'm going to talk about the throwing of the provisional government, the House of the Special Purpose, and everything about the Soviet Union. You have to learn about Kuba or Man of Steel or Joseph Stalin, his vicious beatings he received as a kid, where he was urinating blood for at least a week. His childhood growing up. I'm going to talk about Lenin's rival, which is Leon Trotsky. I'm going to talk about other people's the brutality of the Soviet Union. For example, in the Tricas. Felix Dzerzhinsky, Leventry Beria. I'm going to talk about the Cold War, the man who actually predicted the Cold War many years ago while he was working in Moscow. The guy from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His name is what's the hell's his name again? Sorry, having a blink moment. He's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. John Cannon. John Cannon was the guy he was a mad genius. He predicted the Cold War many years ago with his long telegram. So I'll go through every single detail. I'll cover the Berlin airlift. I will cover the Holodomor. I will cover obviously the death of Leon Trotsky, the death of Joseph Stalin, the death of Vladimir Lenin. So every single detail. I will cover one of the greatest authors of all time, which is Fyodor Dostoevsky, and a lot of things that's happening today, it was all predicted back in the Soviet Union. In order to understand the state of Western civilization, to understand what's happening in the UK and Canada, in the United States, right? If you look at the history of the Soviet Union, I think everything will make a lot more sense. And obviously, I'm going to talk about, since we're getting closer basically to a state of Cold War, I'm going to talk about some Cold Wars and the proxy wars that happened. A little bit about the military-industrial complex. I don't know if the algorithm might not like it, but I will discuss it. I will talk about Diego Garcia, America's most controversial probably military base overall. I'm going to talk about the Malacca Strait. I'm going to talk about Camp Okinawa. I'm going to talk about Camp Humphreys. Basically, just give you guys an idea of what America is doing with their military-industrial complex. I'm going to talk about the proxy wars, for example, Korean War. That's the deadliest proxy war since the start of the Cold War. It still is. So I'm going to cover the Korean War from the American perspective. And right before the election, so election was it November 5th? Right before the weekend before the election, I will release a full-length documentary. Could be 45 minutes or even 1 hour, because where this is the closest the world has been to a nuclear Armageddon since the Cuban Missile Crisis. So I will have a full documentary on the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm going to obviously talk about Fidel Castro, Che Guevara. I'm going to talk about like Francis Gary Powers. So from the Cuban, from the American, and from the Soviet perspective, I'm going to cover every single point, including the invasion including the Americans' attempted invasion of the Bay of Pigs. That was a failed invasion that was obviously plotted by the CIA along with Allen Dulles, and that was basically to provoke the Cubans and the Soviets. So I will cover that conflict in a full-length documentary. So there's a lot to cover, but don't worry. So starting September, you will see a lot more topics on the election specials. But I think since I've talked so much about immigration, I think you guys get the idea. So that's what I'm going to talk about for the next 3.5. And this series will run all the way until the end of the year. And hopefully on New Year's Day, that's the goal. On January 1st, I will have a original contents that's going to be family friendly. Trust me, no more politics on my channel for, I would say, from 2025 to 2026. There will be virtually no politics. My channel is going to be filled with wholesome contents coming from China. That's the goal. But until then, just from now until election day, until the transition period, I don't know what's going to happen. But if I can vote, I'll be voting for Trump, because I believe that in order for there to be peace and stability in the world, and Trump needs to rise up. He's the only one that can solve the crisis in the Middle East. He's the only one that can solve the Russian-Ukraine conflict. So until then, I will cover a lot more topics on the on politics and the Cold War. I'm hoping that I think Trump has agreed to 3 debates with Kamala Harris. So I'm hoping to make it to at least one of those debates. I'm hoping to make it to at least maybe 2 or 3 of Trump's rallies. Tickets are probably going to be expensive. I'll see. Maybe I can do some live streams at the rally, and I'll do some live reactions, and I'll definitely do some coverage, and I'll talk to some people at the Trump rally and produce a few videos there. And am I going to Kamala Harris's rally? I don't think so. What if maybe she gets booted at the last minute? Maybe she gets replaced with Michelle Obama. Who knows? Nothing should come as a surprise anymore. But it's hard to say. But I don't think I will be going to any of the Democratic conventions or any of these rallies. I think I'm gonna maybe possibly go to a couple of Trump rallies. So starting September, you'll see a lot more topics on the election. I think at least it syncs with the algorithm, and I'll have a lot of stuff on the Cold War and the Soviet Union. I think you guys will get to learn so much, because you have no idea how much America is becoming a communist country every single day. And it's very important to mention, China is not communist. China stopped being communist many, many years ago. That's just a name. Yes, they still call their people comrades, right? It doesn't matter. That's just a name. It's just a soft shell on the outside. China is free market capitalist. So, and you have to understand that, because communism only brings complete destruction to societies, and it's very, very concerning the path that the West is following. So I will cover everything over the course of the 3.5 months, from September all the way until the end of the year. And hopefully starting China, there'll be lots of exciting stuff, because when New Year's rolls around, that means the Lunar New Year's is right around the corner. Lunar New Year's, that's Chinese New Year. So when I start my China series in 2025, hopefully there will be lots of festivities and family events and lots of celebrations, and it'll be very, very exciting. You'll see, just people going to the shopping center, and there'll be lots of parties, lots of events, lots of social gatherings. And yeah, starting 2025. Right now, I just don't have the contents to fill my channel, so I have to cover some politics. But I really, really want to bring joy to everybody's faces, starting in 2025 and 2026. And obviously, following that, in summer of 2025, there will be an epic road trip that's going to be released starting the summer. So yeah, I think I've talked for a few minutes about the future of this channel. Let me go read some of the comments. Okay, I'm gonna... Oh, there's another super thank you. So let me read this. Kitty Cats, I think this is your second one for this chat. Oh, thank you so much, Kitty Cats, for $5. I want to flee the USA, a scary place, but not sure where a single return should go. So you're saying, I'm assuming this means that you're single and you're looking for a place to go. I don't know, honestly. So from personal point of view, if I can, let's say, get one day, if I bust my ass off, let's say for the next 10-15 years, I can have a successful career, and if I'm financially stable, to be honest, I've given up on humanity. I don't like human civilization. Ideally, I would probably go to a place, let's say, I would go to like Turks and Caicos, or Fiji, or St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or like St. Lucia, one of those really, really remote islands, or the Polynesian islands. I'll just be, sitting on a yacht, or be living in a cottage or something, and I'll just be eating seaside fish tacos every single day, just away from all the insanity, away from human civilization. Ideally, if I can get to that point, yeah, I would rather live in a small island nation, just away from human civilization, because I'm at that point where I'm just gradually losing faith on humanity. It's so I think, thank you, Kitty Cats, for the $5. But ideally, well, it's going to be difficult. But if you can come up with the money, I think it's worth it. I've seen videos on that place, St. Lucia. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I think eventually, that would be the ideal place to retire to one day. And even if I can move there to, like, let's say 8 years from now, when I'm 40, I would definitely move to there for life and then never come back. I think I need the peace and tranquility. I'm never in that state because when I grew up, there's so many divorces, so many childhood drama in my family, just complete insanity. And I think that one thing that's kept me together is that I always stayed away from drugs and alcohol because it makes people just completely retarded. I still remember this. This happened maybe how many years ago? 2012. So 12 years ago now, when I first moved to Ottawa, first year at the university, and I lived on the Quebec side at the time in order to learn some French, to learn some Quebecois, like Quebec French. And so I was on this bus because in Canada the legal drinking age is 19, but if you cross over to the Quebec province, it's 18. So a lot of these freshmen at universities, especially at University of Ottawa, because it's right downtown, it's so easy to get to the Quebec side. And so many people, they take the buses to go to Quebec on Friday and Saturday nights to get blackout drunk. And while I was finished with classes, and obviously I don't drink, I just wanted to take the bus and get home and just get some sleep. I've been caught in this insane bus ride so many times. It drove me insane because everybody on the bus is like, and they're carrying liquors on their jackets and their bags, and the bus driver doesn't even care because he's completely lost control. And these people are so literally retarded. They're all like, ah, yeah, like the entire way, and that just showed me insane. I just want to get away from all the chaos because that's what I grew up with every single day, and I'm at that point. I'm just completely lost faith because every single one of those bus rides was a complete nightmare. And I still remember one time I nearly like lost my mind. There was like the maximum capacity is like 50 or 60 people. One time there was like 100 drunk people on that bus. It was maybe 8 or 8:30 p.m. on Friday night. So all the 18-year-old college students from University of Ottawa, they were trying to make to the Quebec side, were taking the bus. One time I got stuck on the bus, and there was this guy, literally probably a 6'8", 250 pounds black guy. I still remember he had a dark backpack and the glasses, and he was also kind of half drunk, and he was going to the Quebec side to party, and he was wearing a t-shirt like soaked in sweat. His arms was completely sweating, and I was pinned right next to him. And this guy was probably like 6'8", so my head was literally stuck right beside his sweaty armpit for like half an hour on the bus ride. I just remembered I wanted to die so bad. I just said, give me the hell away from human civilization because I cannot deal with the drama. I cannot believe how obsessed people are with alcohol. And yeah, if I had the money, if I had the financial security, I would move to a small, tiny little island nation. But the key is that you gotta have the money first. I can see Costa Rica's future as well. Obviously, I will make an attempt to learn Spanish, and I will move to a seaside town, and I would just settle there. And I think that's the ideal way to go because I cannot stand the big cities. I've been to Shanghai many, many times. I've been to Beijing many, many times. And Shanghai has 24 million people. 24 million people, roughly the same population as Australia. Imagine all of Australia being stuffed in one city. And the pace, the chaos, the drama, and everybody is just so busy all the time. It's too much for me. I prefer the small town life. So thank you, Kitty Cats. I went on for a while there from that comment. Rich people avoid tax. What's new? Okay. 上帝 Daily Wire. Well, I mean, they got their issues. I lost a lot of respect for them when they fired Candace Owens. I think that was the direct decision of Ben Shapiro. But I have no control over Ben Shapiro, right? He's a multi-millionaire. He probably makes like $20 million a year. So what am I to say if that's his decision? But he literally co-founded the Daily Wire on the basis of freedom of speech. But when Candace Owens said something that he didn't like, he fired her. So, yeah, they moved away from California because the taxes was too high. They moved to Tennessee, and they're basically in Nashville now, and they paid zero taxes. That the politicians are saying tax the rich. That's all bullshit. When you tax the rich, they just go away. So they end up taxing the middle class and the poor people. That's why California is one of the shittiest states in the U.S. now. Look at how many homeless people there are in Los Angeles and San Francisco. It's a complete shithole. Gavin Newsom he's basically the Justin Trudeau of California. Wait, Jeremy Boring is his real name? Yeah, I think the Boring has a E after the R, but it's pronounced the Jeremy Boring. He's the CEO along with Caleb Robinson. Then Ben Shapiro he's the co-founder, but I don't think he's the CEO. And Ben Shapiro does not live in Nashville. He lives in Florida. He probably lives in like a tiny subdivision that's extremely filthy rich with $5 million houses. So he produces his show in Florida. this fly is still here. Okay. Connie moved to Montana. Let me see. Okay, let me read some more comments. So we're at 8 minutes, so it's good. We have 22 minutes. I think I've covered a lot of the main points and about the future of this channel now. So yeah, remember, September to December, a lot of politics and Cold War. Could be depressing, but trust me, you guys will learn something very new, something you guys you have never ever heard of. But I'm excited for 2025. Even though I'm going to be homeless for a while, but that's okay. It's temporary, right? Don't try to avoid obstacles in life, right? Don't be grateful. It doesn't matter, you know, remember when I said when you go to the bathroom, be grateful. Every hole that should have opened, and every hole that should have closed. Learn to be grateful in life, and don't avoid the thunderstorms in life. Learn to dance in the rain. So I'll embrace it. You know, I'm not really homeless. I still have a car to sleep in. So let me see. Defund single mothers. Yes, I'm 100% against single mother homes. I grew up, everybody in my family was a single mother, and it's complete disaster. Look at what happened in my family. I had an uncle that was arrested for drug related charges for 8 years. I had gangsters in my family. Everybody in my family is a school dropout. I once dropped out of school. My sister also dropped out of school. My cousin dropped out of school. So single mother families, they create terrible individuals for society. Let me see. Tesla's an ugly car. How much do you run every day? I'm not running so much right now. When I go back to China, I don't think I will have very much time. Ever since my channel started to grow in May, I've been basically working just nonstop, completely tried to build a channel because I also have a job where I work 44 hours a week, so virtually had no time. But during the peak, when I'm training for a marathon, I will roughly run 100 kilometers a week. So if you're in the US, that's roughly 62 miles a week. Yeah, I will run almost every day when I'm training for a marathon. But a little bit out of shape right now. But I will get back in shape, definitely. Hopefully after my China trip, I'll start training for another marathon. Okay, they invest leftover money to have no inflation. What? You'll grow up one day. I don't know. There's a lot of hate from this Joshua Taylor person. If you really have something against me, you're like, dude, you don't have to stay, but I don't know. There seems to be a lot of comment of hatred from this guy, but out of my control. I'll try to see. If you're going to live in a place that gets bone cold, you need to have cars. Okay, oh, these are from the Tesla. Let me read some more comments. Yeah, so we're at less than 20 minutes, so I can stay on a bit longer. Let me read through some of these comments. If you have legitimate questions, I think I've covered the main points. You can type in them in the comments, like legitimate questions, not trolls, and I'll try to answer them. Let me just go through some of these comments. Sorry. It's what a boot Canada. Also buy their stuff. Dude, I love your shit. Original. Bruce Lee was the perfect Chinese gentleman. Oh, something interesting. Bruce Lee, he's actually not completely Chinese. He's 1/4 German. You can look up his parents. He's a grandfather. He's a paternal grandfather from his father's side. He's German, and he basically, I think, unfortunately, he subjugated some random Chinese woman, and so that then obviously that they gave birth to a Bruce Lee's father. Then Bruce Lee's mother is full Chinese. So Bruce Lee is actually 1/4 German and 3/4 Chinese. And when at the school when Bruce Lee was growing up, when the people found out he actually suffered from a severe discrimination because this is during the colonial era when all the white people severely discriminated against the Chinese. They were called the Dongya Bingfu, or the sick man of East Asia. So there was a lot of racial tension on both sides. So when the Bruce Lee's inner circle, when they found out he was 1/4 German, he faced a lot of backlash and discrimination growing up. I think that's what kicked off his villain era. That's that's why he became Bruce Lee. Let me see comments. I'm going through the comments. Have you ever tried dog or cat? That's a great question. Yes, I have eaten dogs before. When was the last time? I think the last time I went back to China 8 years ago. Yeah, it's gonna be one of my videos. It's gonna be extremely controversial. I'm gonna visit one of those dog meat restaurants. I'll see. Maybe it's gonna be my most viewed video. We'll see. I've never tried a cat. I don't think eating cat is very common in China. Even eating dogs that's only like in some areas. In my hometown, yes, in some places in the south, but most Chinese cities don't offer dog meat. Okay, I'm gonna read some of these comments. Okay, Chinese historian, which country do you plan on moving outside of the West? Have you considered you wouldn't be able to express your opinions the same level of freedom of speech? No, I don't think I'm concerned. Right now, I think, look at what's happening in the West. No, you can't say what you really want to say. You can't talk about what you want to talk about, right? Especially as a white person. Yeah, your freedom of speech, your freedom of anything is being severely suppressed. I think the Western civilization is one of the worst places if you want to talk about freedom of speech. Because, if you go to China, everybody can say the N word. Can you say the N word in the West? I'm not saying it's correct, but if you want freedom of speech, right? I think if you really support freedom of speech, then everybody should be able to say the N word, right? So freedom of speech is subjective. So and plus, like I said, I'm covering a lot of political topics because we're coming up to election 2024. I think it's important to bring these issues to light. But I think the channel is going to look quite different from 2025. I think there'll be a lot of happy and joyful content starting 2025. But yeah, I'm not really concerned. I think the West is freedom of speech is one of the worst places in the West right now. Like you can't even say, for example, in China you can say, okay, I don't like homosexuals. I think being gay is wrong. I think it's just a mental illness. Can you say that in the West? You can't even say that anymore. Because if you say that at your workplace, they can fire you on the spot, even without a warning. You can get expelled from schools for just saying that you don't like gays, right? So the freedom of speech in the West is completely going to shit. Oh, by the way, I'm trying to do more live streams because when I'm in China, there will be no live streams. I don't think the data will be able to keep up. So I'll announce my last live stream. Will be right. Actually, I can do a live stream on election night. So I'll do some election night live reaction. That will probably be a longer live stream, possibly 3 hours. Then that's gonna be the last live stream for 7 months. So until I go back to China, I can maybe do 6 or 7 more of these. Then no more live streams for a really long time, probably 7, possibly 8 months. So I'm gonna try to take this opportunity to try to just engage with the audience and try to learn some new stuff as well from you guys. So vlogs, we'll see. I'm still trying to piece together some of the stuff, but it's going to be expected to be a 2 years long series. It's going to be very exciting, but like I said, no politics, only family friendly stuff, and some stuff you'll be 100% surprised. Soviet Union, bro, it's a country south of Canada. It's a better example. Venezuela, socialism. Soviets is old news, but well, you probably know that's modern style of socialism. It's very important to learn what happened in the past because sorry, this light keeps turning out. If you want really to learn about socialism, you gotta learn about the birthplace of socialism and communism, and obviously that's a union of Soviet Socialist Republic. So yeah, that's coming in September. You're already remembering so much shit. Okay, I am you and you and me. Oh, is that? Are you talking about Soviet Union? Thank you. What's your IQ? I don't know. I don't trust those tests. I've never taken it. Is that really reliable? I'm not sure 100%. The stuff about the Soviet Union I learned it many years ago. I've always been curious because everything in China that was basically up until the late 1970s was copy and pasted their ideology from the Soviet Union. So I really wanted to understand Soviets, like obviously socialism and communism. So I dug up everything I could about the Soviet Union, and man, absolutely brutal. I couldn't imagine, like, death to the bourgeoisie, the just the class based genocide. It's horrific, and I think so many people have no idea what's happening. I think one of the best things to happen in our history, like I mentioned in my video earlier, was when Nicolae Ceausescu and his wife, when they got magnum dumped with over 100 bullets. So yeah, it's absolute. You have no idea what you're dealing with because socialism and communism is carnivorous. It only eats meat. It never eats on vegetables. And when it feasts, it never. It's like those piranhas you see in the Amazon River. Absolutely vicious. Let me see. Okay, question. Let me see. Try to read some of these. Yeah, well, we got some time. Okay, I'm gonna read some of these questions to finish off this live stream. What do you think about demographic resurgence of Central Asia, unprecedented modern era? Asian men should consider moving there. I'm not sure. You talk about like Uzbekistan or like Turkey, Central Asia, like Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is like completely closed off, right? They're like one of the most isolated countries in the world. They have extreme policies. Like when you go there, there's no phone service or internet, and someone has to follow you. Like there's a tour guide, and all the cars are white, right? They have to follow you. So I'm not sure about the demographic resurgence. I'm pretty sure it's going down. Even like Bahrain or Azerbaijan, their population is going down. Also, one thing they don't want to cover, like the what's going on in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, right? There's a massive genocide against Christians. What's happening in Azerbaijan, and the same thing happening in Romania, right? This is the genocide against Christians. The mainstream media does not want to cover it. It's very, very unfortunate. But I'm not really aware of any demographic shift in this Central Asia. Never been to Uzbekistan or Tajikistan or Kyrgyzstan or all of those countries. But I think in terms of GDP per capita, I think they're pretty weak. They're pretty on par with a third world country. So no offense if you're from Uzbekistan. By the way, I'm pretty sure Uzbekistan is like a Muslim majority country. So, well, let's move on to some of their questions. If you divorce in China, you still keep your citizenship. Well, your divorce may not affect your immigration status. Okay, I'll look into it. I'll look into it. Do you regret getting a commerce degree? Well, it's unfortunate I had to take on so much debt. I think if I could go back in time, maybe four and a half years, if I could go to university for free, I would still take the degree. There are definitely setbacks. I couldn't believe over the course of just the last 10, 15 years how woke Canada has gotten. It's unfortunate. But at least when I go back, even for my mom, I think she'll be able to live 10 years longer because I face so much pressure. Even though my family is completely torn apart, but it's that Asian culture, right? If you don't, at least you don't have to become a doctor or a lawyer, but if at the very least you don't have a 4-year university degree, you'll be. It's crazy. They don't shame single mothers. They don't shame divorces anymore, but they will shame you for not getting a university degree, right? And it's very, very common now. Like right now, like you're a complete failure, right? If you don't at least have a 4-year degree. I face so much pressure from my family. That's why I finally decided to come back to school. So at least I think that's one, maybe not in my mom's heart, she can finally resolve, and the people around me. At least when I return to China, I'll have a 2-year college diploma and a 4-year degree. And maybe it's my me feeling my filial piety for my family, because I don't think I'm probably not going to get married or have children. It's been 100% traumatizing. It's been a terrible, terrible childhood growing up with the rampant divorces and all the drama. But at the very least, I can walk back with that piece of paper. It might not mean so much in the Western civilization, but in China, it's definitely extremely, extremely important. And I think that's my last bit of duty to my family. Let me see. Dostoevsky. Oh, yeah. Fyodor Dostoevsky. If you read all of these stuff, what's happening in 2024, well, totally makes sense now. It's crazy he wrote this almost 200 years ago. You should read Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Will completely enlighten you or change your mind, right? I think he's actually a level above like people like Jordan Peterson. This guy is crazy. Like imagine if this guy existed today, he would be out of this world. Yeah, definitely. Look up some of the works. When I cover the Soviet Union, I will bring up some direct quotes from Fyodor Dostoevsky, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Talk about APAC and grip on politics. Well, a lot of people want me to talk about Zionism, but here's the thing. I don't have a problem with Israel. The real problem is the United States. I think if you actually really dig into it, right, Israel is not a problem. Like the decision to invade Iraq, that was made by the U.S. long before 2003. It wasn't even Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu. It wasn't even him. They just want to paint him as a scapegoat. I understand he's a piece of shit, obviously. So he already looks like a bad guy. So why not just add more blame on him, right? The decision that was all made by the U.S. back in the late 1980s into 1991 when Iraq attacked Kuwait. I think in 1991 the decision was already made. So to me, if you want my honest opinion, like the U.S. government and the deep state, they're the real problem. I think people like Netanyahu and Israel and AIPAC, they're being used as a scapegoat. I'm not saying that they're bad. I 100% agree. Like Benjamin Netanyahu, he needs to be put on international criminal court, right? He needs to be charged for war crimes. But I really think the number one issue is the U.S. and their military-industrial complex. I'll cover this when I talk about Camp Diego Garcia military base, right? You talk about how much you care about the Native American population, how much you care about Aboriginals, how much you care about natives. You should look up Diego Garcia, how they created that military base. It's literally thousands of natives of the island were basically expelled and murdered and sent into extreme poverty so the U.S. can create that base. And they needed that base for the invasion of Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. That was their refueling station. In order to achieve that, they had to expel thousands of natives from the island. It's quite shocking, and so many people have no idea what's happening. And it's also critical to mention that Diego Garcia is located right beside the Malacca Street. That's where the U.S. plans to completely chokehold on China's economy. I think U.S. is the one that's doing all the provoking. I think if you really want world peace, then the military industrial complex has to get shut down, because the U.S. has no business being there, because it's 100% against international law to build a base there. Let's see. Kamala Harris is actually hilarious. Yeah, she has an insane laugh, 100%. And that's one part I agree with. Yeah, she's got one hell of a laugh. Okay. Agree Israel is used by Poland. Who controls the US? Well, it's the lobbyists and the neocons. It's the simplest way to put it. It goes way deeper than that. But if I'm on my honest opinion, Israel is not the number one problem in the United States. It's the United States itself. Yes, Israel has a lot of issues, right? I agree. I'm not saying that they haven't done a lot of terrible things, but they're just being thrown out there because it's much easier to place the blame on somebody else. But if you want this war to get the conflict in, if you want any hope for the conflict to get in the Middle East to get resolved, I think Donald Trump is the only one that can solve this, because clearly this administration hasn't done shit, and all of these wars that happened under Biden and Harris wouldn't have happened under Trump. So, let me see. Western countries guilt trips like Canada, Australia using past native genocide, Lachlan Belden, and how it has the opposite effect on the UK. Guilt trips, like you mean like what happened Canada did to Native Americans? Well, I mean, yes, the European colonizers did do a lot of bad things. Here's I think something people don't understand. For example, during the 250 years of the Spanish Inquisition, people keep calling that a genocide, right? How many people do you think died during 250 years of a Spanish Inquisition? 3,000 people. That is one death per month. Okay, one death per month. That isn't exactly a genocide. I think a lot of things are over exaggerated and taken out of context, because yes, the Europeans did bad things, but the Native Americans also did brutal things to each other, right? You're always trying to shame the Europeans, but the Native Americans, they were absolutely brutal. They completely slaughtered each other. If you look up Highway 7 in British Columbia, that is actually the most dangerous highway in the world. That's where a lot of Native American men in modern day in 2024, they keep kidnapping these Native American women. And the ones that get kidnapped, they get brutally raped and tortured and subjugated by Native American men. And they did this. This is a tradition that's been going on in the Native community for hundreds of years. If you don't believe me, you can travel to some. If you meet some actually village elders that's honest, that's truthful to their history, they will actually tell you this. Yeah, they did terrible things to each other. They brutally murdered other tribes, and they brutally subjugated women. They used to bury people who were born as little girls. They used to bury those Native American girls in the sand because they needed young boys. Because young boys can obviously they're stronger, they're faster, so they're better at hunting, so they can hunt for more food. They're faster at building homes, and it's more basically it's an advantage economically to have more baby boys. So they used to brutally murder baby girls. I understand. Chinese people did terrible stuff. Indian people did a lot of terrible stuff. I think the issue is when the Western media, they have a two-tier media and the policing system. They're trying to push all the blame onto white people. Native Americans also did terrible things. So. This light keeps turning out. Well, thank you for your question. Let me try to go down some of the questions. Hey, Mr. Chinese historian. Oh, hi, El. Thank you. Who controls the U.S.? Jake Welsh. Look into it. Look into the deep state. I think you will get to know. But if you want my honest opinion, like I really don't think it's Israel. Okay, it's the United States. It's your own people. The local elites who chooses next in line. Harris done. Okay, let me largest yeah, we're hour and 17 minutes. Okay, so this is the last round of comments before I shut this off. I will try to go through some of these comments and see, and then I will see you guys next week. Will there be riots in Canada like in the UK? Yeah, it's looking very concerning. This new movement, you can look it up. It's called Take Back Canada. That's probably going to be the next freedom convoy. Who knows? There could be truckers could be coming back to the capital to go for round 2. It's very concerning because everybody knows that the immigration is out of control and a lot of people are turning. Or if you wanted to call them far right, or maybe they just want to be able to afford a home one day. And yes, it's it could happen in Canada. We already had the Freedom Convoy, but the Freedom Convoy 2.0 could be 10 times worse. Let me see. We support Asia, vote Trump. Okay. They were cannabis, much like Donnie. Yes, California too. Too many immigrants. Assimilation will happen before conflict. A lot of Mexicans are mixed native and Spanish. They take pride in Spanish colonizer side. Okay. What about the black people? Okay, I don't know what Jake is talking about. China and U.S. Jackie Lynn holding hands. Well, thank you. I think it's a good place to start. So, in your dreams, knowing your dreams, white Mexicans are called daywalkers. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. You all belong to China, bro. Okay. All right, Shanti. So let me see. That was a joke. Try. Well, actually, at one point, when I was growing up, leading up to the Chinese Olympics, at one point, I think a lot of people were thinking that China and the U.S. could actually become best friends. Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. A lot of things have changed. The relationship have really soured. But why does China, Russia, and the U.S. have to be enemies? Why can't this relationship turn around? Because clearly there's an agenda to basically to try to create war and conflict. I think perhaps Trump can be the one to do it, although it's hard to say. But listen, just because someone believes in something different than you doesn't mean that they have to be enemies. Just because China doesn't believe in 2S LGBTQIA plus rates, right? Why should China be demonized for that? I think the Chinese government is 100% right. Just because China is, you can call them xenophobic, just because they don't have open borders, you want to shame them for that? I think it's important to preserve your land, to preserve your culture, to preserve your people. And rapid immigration diversity has never worked out for any country, right? Look at South Africa and Zimbabwe. Or it used to look at what happened. Look at what the colonizers did to Robert Mugabe. Right, diversity is not the way to go. I think China was right on these kind of issues. All right, the last bit, I'll try to read the comments, and before I shut this off, thank you so much to everybody that stayed. So we're at 120 minutes now. I'm going to read the last few comments, and then I will see you guys next week. I'll probably try to do another live stream 2 weeks from now, because I don't want to do too many to overwhelm you guys. So right before I move out of this apartment, I'll do one last live stream. So that's likely 2 weekends from now. Let me see what's going on here. Let me see some of the last comments. Big facts, appreciate. Wonder Woman was part Mexican. I'm not sure about that. Central Asian demographic, Kazakhs, sub replacement, above 3. I'll look into what's happening in Central Asia. Maybe I'll find something interesting. Free the Uyghurs. There's no Uyghur genocide in China. That's a lie made up by the West. So that's all I can tell you. Sorry. Charlie Shane, oh, yes, I agree. We should learn from Afghanistan, fought for their land. All right. So we're at 2 hours now. I said that I will keep this live stream at 2 hours. Thank you so much to everybody. I think at the peak I had maybe over 180 people. Right now I'm 139 people. So I think I've covered the main issues. Thank you so much to everybody that sent me the super chats and super thank yous. Thank you so much to everybody that stayed. If you stayed for the entire 2 hours to listen to my points, and this live stream will still be up. I'll keep this up. I won't take it down, so you guys can watch what happens. You can, if you want to, you can go back and rewatch it. Some of the key points. I think I made points about immigration pretty clear, and so. Next week, some lighter topics, okay? I don't want to keep everything so heavy, but starting September, get ready for some politics and some Soviet Union, some Cold War stuff. And I'm excited for 2025. So thank you guys so much. And I'm going to log off from this third live stream since my channel started to take off. Thank you guys so much to everybody has commented and stayed and donated money. I will see you guys next time. Thank you.